superstar, it's time to shine.
Here's to the fierce queens, the delusional dreamer, the one who thinks she's all that because she marches to the beat of her own drum. She's not afraid to embrace her flaws, and she finds power in using failure as fuel for evolution. Defying the limits imposed by perfectionism and imposter syndrome, she faces her fears with full confidence in God, because the one who put her here also called her to have dominion here. My name is Barbara Moahi, your online bestie and chair executive officer. Join me and women across the world who refuse to let fear keep them from their wildest dreams. This is Boldly Becoming.
Hello, superstar. I hope you're having a fabulous Friday so far. And even if it's not Friday when you're listening to this, I really hope that you are having the most fabulous week of your life, because I know we've got kings and queens out there doing the absolute most, trying to level up, get to the next era of your success. And so, yeah, you might be like me, listening to podcasts on your way to school on a Monday or on your way back from work, because it just feels like the most valuable thing to do. And I think, again, if you're anything like me, then you probably are someone who endeavors to do a lot of things. You're probably super ambitious. Actually, if you're just listening to this podcast, I know for a fact that you're an ambitious person, that you see more for your life than what it is right now. Not to say that your life right now isn't great, but to say that you know that there's more potential and you can always push the boundaries. And I think for me on my journey, as much as I've had many successes, there are also different areas of my life that kind of force me to face the fact that sometimes I'm not the most disciplined person I know. I think I can be very disciplined with the things that people see, but when it comes to the things that aren't necessarily going to be on Instagram or are going to be broadcasted to the entire nation, then yeah, it takes the back seat and the back priority, and I'm not really focused on that. And I think today what I really wanted to chat about is a few takeaways that really my experiences this week have highlighted to me. And if you haven't heard and you weren't tuned into the last episode, I currently am undergoing training at a local radio station to become an on-air personality. And while that is very exciting, I think it was on Wednesday, on day 3 of training, that I realized that actually, guys, this is a lot of hard work. I think it seems so effortless when you see radio presenters on TV doing their thing, or when you hear it in your car or however you listen to radio. But the reality of radio is that there's so many different buttons and so much multitasking that happens. Well, at least at my level. I know when you get up in the ranks, then you have a producer that does a lot of stuff for you. But right now, your job is to do the job of a content producer, of a producer who, you know, works the desk, and then obviously the personality, carrying the conversation, making sure that things run smoothly. When the news come on, you're the person firing all the different clips and things that have to go up. When traffic goes on, you're the person working on the background music and all these different things. And I just realized how much pressure and expectation is really placed on radio presenters to perform at a high level. And what I realized in the moment that I was driving home at 11:30 on a weekday, knowing that I had school the next morning, is that radio is hard, but so is engineering. And so is marketing. But the hard that you experience in engineering is not the same hard that you'll experience in radio. And it's not the same hard that you experience while doing marketing. And I think for a lot of us, you might be in a position where you're dating someone and it feels like, oh, if I was dating that person, they would never do this. But if you date that person, then there are habits that they have and you're like, oh, but if I was dating that person, they'd never do this. And so what you come to realize after going through relationship to relationship is that all relationships are hard, but it's your resolve that determines your ability to have a successful relationship. The same way it's your resolve that determines your ability to to graduate from varsity. And yes, I understand that for some of us, especially in South Africa, the reality is sometimes you do have the resilience to finish a degree, but the finances don't allow. And there's so many different challenges that come to us. But if all things were perfect and we were in a utopian society, the real thing that's stopping you from achieving whatever it is that you want, whether it's a healthy relationship, a great career, or just a healthy body and mind, is really yourself. And I think that was a hard realization that I had to come to, because we all like to think the best of ourselves. We all like to think that we are perfect, we are trying our best, and everything else in the world is out to get us. And I think something that I'm always challenged by is not allowing rejections and failures and my inability to complete a task to make me resort to victim mentality. Because you want to wake up on a Monday and then it's like, okay, I'm going to start this new diet on Monday, but by Wednesday already you're having a fat slice of chocolate cake, or you tell yourself you're going to work out. I can't tell you guys how many times I tried to do the Chloe Ting's 2-week challenge, or even something like 75 hard. 75 hard, I granted, definitely is a little extreme, but with something as simple as Chloe Ting's 2-week challenge, I couldn't even get past day 3. I couldn't get past day 4. And I heard something on Instagram this past week. I actually think it was from Alex Hormozi. So if you don't know who Alex Hormozi is, he is this amazing marketing genius. He's deep into business and sales, making businesses $1 million businesses and then selling them. And him and his wife Layla go through that whole thing. And I encourage you to go to the Think Media podcast. There's actually an episode with Layla Hormozi where she talks about all the difficulties that she had in her childhood. I think it's titled something like, "Should You Do Content as a Business Owner?" And she speaks about her difficulties in her childhood that forced her to become an adult very early on. And I'm talking like 8 years old. She had to look after herself because if she had to alert anyone that she was a child-headed only child household, then she definitely would have been taken to child services and all that kinds of stuff. And that's what she was avoiding. So in essence, she had to raise herself as well as her mother. And it's an entire story. But I think the discipline and resolve that she has now definitely makes sense because of the kind of childhood that she had. But what happens when you don't have a rough childhood or a childhood that extreme that forces you to have a discipline and resolve that pushes you through every hard thing in life? What do you do then? And her husband said something so profound. He said, it's not a thing of not having enough time or not having enough resources, because that's an easy excuse to make. Let's take time for an example, because I know that's the reason a lot of us don't work out. A lot of us don't exercise because it's like, I just don't have time in my schedule. And he was like, it's not that you don't have time in your schedule. It's that you're using that time to do something else. And that really struck a chord with me, because as he was going down his list of examples, he mentioned you're scrolling on TikTok or you're scrolling on Instagram. And I know for a fact, as a creative, I scroll a lot on social media because I'm looking for something to inspire me. I'm trying to see someone that is beyond the 5 different influencers that I look up to and admire. I want to see someone do something completely different, because the idea is not to, emulate the influencers that I like, the Lisa Matibes. That's not the idea. The idea is to carve a path for Barbara, and a path that will make Barbara an iconic creator in her own right. And so I try to do all of that. But what happens, and if you're a creative, then you would know this, is that you can scroll for 10 hours, 3 days, 4 days, looking for inspiration and never get around to creating. But what that in particular did for me was realize that, okay, every morning when I wake up, I normally spend about 2 hours on social media just scrolling, looking for something to inspire me for the day. And that 2 hours that I use is definitely 2 hours, not even 2 hours, 15 of that 2 hours is 15 minutes that I could have taken to just walk around the estate. It's 15 minutes that I could have taken to just do one workout set. In fact, I did a workout set today, and It literally took me about 16 minutes to complete the entire routine. So now guess what? I've worked out my abs for one day. For the whole day, that's the exercise done. And I think what we tend to do that kind of works against us is that because we're so ambitious, we want to do things at the most extreme end. So you don't want to do 15 minutes of a workout because to you, it doesn't feel like an accomplishment. You want to be able to say you did 45-minute workout inside and outside because you're doing the 75 hard challenge and now you finished it. You want to say that you're the person who was able to do the degree in three years while having 3 children under the age of 2 and having a job on the side and working a day job and a night job and having a husband and all these different things. We want to be able to say that we are superheroes that were able to overcome 15 million challenges at the same time, juggle them and reach our outcome. But if time has proven to you over and over again that you're not that girl, it's okay. It's okay to adjust the routine to something that is more manageable for you. And when you prove to yourself that you can conquer the 15 minutes, that's when you take the audacity to then level up to 20 minutes and then 25 minutes and then 30 minutes. And next thing you know, you'll be in the gym for an hour every day and even twice a day because you're just that person. An example I love and I can give you is Foyen OG on Instagram at Foyen OG. She is one of the coolest makeup artists that create content in our country. Absolutely love her. But there's something that she calls the 75 soft with Foyen, and it's basically an adaptation of the 75 hard because she wanted to get started on her fitness journey, and you can literally go on her Instagram. There's pictures of where she started and where she's at right now. She wanted to get started, but this whole excuse of like, it's too hard and it's too much was just a big stumbling block in front of her. So she decided to take the same model of 75 hard and then just adjust it slightly so that she was able to manage it according to her lifestyle, because little progress every day is better than no progress. And I don't know if you remember the episode that we did called Becoming World Class, where we spoke about this quote from Will Smith, and I shared it again on Instagram this past week, where he says, it's better to build one brick excellently every single day, because one brick laid excellently, and I'm paraphrasing, one brick laid excellently every single day will give you a great wall eventually. Instead of setting out to build this big magnificent wall, you're gonna get burnt out on the way. You're gonna feel like a failure. You're gonna feel like you haven't achieved your ordeal, and at the end of it, instead of building the big wall, you give up, you walk away from it, and you don't ever want to pick it up again because it brings you so much shame, and shame internally, not necessarily that it's something that people outside are judging you for. And I think for me, having adjusted everything to say, okay, I can't commit to an hour workout, I can do 15 minutes, has really helped me, because now that I've got some skin in the game and I literally am on a workout streak. Yesterday, I also did a 15-minute workout. Like, I really have been doing well in that regard. I found myself opening the fridge, and I don't know why my mom decided that this week she's just going to stock up the fridge with all the nice things. She bought grape tizers, she bought orange juice, and orange juice is my favorite juice if you don't know. She bought orange juice, grape tizers, lemonade. There's all sorts of things in the fridge, and I wanted to grab an orange juice to have with my breakfast after the workout. But then I was like, can you imagine? Yesterday I worked out, today I worked out, and now I'm going to cancel out the work that I did by drinking this orange juice. Let me have water. And it wasn't even a thought that I had to really struggle with and fight with. It literally is something that happened instantaneously, where I was like, I've actually put in too much. I've invested too much of myself and my mental fortitude into working out every day to then lose it in a moment for orange juice. What is orange juice going to do for me? Come on. And I kept it moving. And I think that's something that you could really look into, is when you break down your tasks into smaller, manageable pieces, and you're able to prove yourself consistently that you're able to do those little pieces, you have so much skin in the game by the end of the week that doing something that would jeopardize your progress just doesn't feel worth it. And I think this is where your feelings really have a big play or hand to play in the whole situation. There's another content creator, guys. I'm in the business of celebrating people that I admire, and so we're gonna talk about them. There's a content creator who I hope you know. Her name is Grace Mondlana. You can find her on Instagram and TikTok at Grace Mondlana, and she's a productivity TikToker. And I think what I've seen with Grace is she puts out content every single day, no matter what the weather is, no matter how she's feeling, whether she's got braces in that are hurting her and she can't eat, she can't speak to save her life, she's gonna make content. And I think the biggest thing that I've realized in successful creators, she's got over 200,000 followers now on TikTok, and reaching that amount on Instagram. But what I've realized about her is that she knows her limits and she knows what she's capable and incapable of doing because of her schedule. So people in the comment section on TikTok will often say to her, can you go to YouTube, please? Can you go to YouTube? We'd love to see longer versions of the content that you make. But she was very firm in saying that right now I'm juggling a lot of things, and for me to move to YouTube would be insane because I can barely handle TikTok as it is. So I'm going to stay on TikTok. But even in her brave decision to say, okay, I'm going to limit myself to doing what I know I'm capable of, she doesn't let her feelings dictate whether she's going to show up or not. And that's literally a challenge I had this morning. I'm so tired from all the radio training we've been doing this week because we go there in the afternoon, we leave at 11, and it's exhausting. It's very exhausting. Right now, I've got a speaking engagement from 2 to 4. And so you can just imagine, I'm like, I just want to wake up, shower, do my makeup, go to the speaking engagement. And then maybe if I feel like it, I'll record this podcast episode. But this morning when I woke up, I had so many ideas about things I wanted to talk to you about, being what we're having right now. And it just didn't make sense that I would rather sit in bed and think about the conversation that I want to have with you instead of picking up the mic and just speaking to you. And that's what I did. I literally just plugged in the mic and I was like, we're speaking. And I did it. And now look, the podcast episode is done. You're listening to it. You're loving it because you're still listening at this point. By the way, if you're still listening, please do give me a review on Spotify. I would appreciate that. We've actually got a 5-star review. Like there's 100 and something reviews, if I'm not mistaken, on Spotify, and they're all 5-star, which is so insane. So shout out to everyone who's been listening on Spotify. I really do appreciate you. Even on Apple podcasts, I've seen that we've had a few reviews. I think the last one was like in 2023. I don't know what that's about, but but if you do have a second, I really would appreciate that you would stop and take the time to just give me a review. If it's anything less than 5 stars, honestly, send me an email at Baxbara.inbox at gmail.com about what you think I should improve, the structure, more segments. Let me know, and I definitely will look into making the podcast a 5-star experience for you. Okay, and yeah, that's literally it. Is that the first thing I wanted to share to you is that you are doing something else with your time, and the moment that you take accountability for how you spend your time is the moment that you'll be able to get started and see how much time you're wasting instead of getting into action. Second thing is that sometimes you just need to alter the pace. Guys, my phone is literally clicking itself and it just deleted my notes as I was speaking to you. Second thing was that sometimes you just need to alter the pace. And the third thing is that you just need to ignore your feelings and get it done. There was a fourth thing, but my phone deleted everything, and that's literally all I remember. However, I just want to remind you that as you go into this new week and as you give your dreams or your goals another shot, whether it's a diet, whether it's working out, whether it's just consistently showing up on social media, I really want to encourage you to think about the reward. Think about the end goal always, because I think sometimes when you're in the middle, it's difficult for you to be completely invested in the process because it feels like you're not seeing progress. Like you have been posting consistently for months and everyone around you is blowing up but that shouldn't deter you, because there's actually a story that we were told yesterday by Tshepang Moji. So if you have no idea who Tshepang Moji is, he is a 5FM radio presenter who technically is still a student at the University of Pretoria. And he started at Tax FM, I think in 2021, 2022, around that time. And he has been the quickest journey from campus radio to commercial radio. So how campus radio works is that we're all volunteers and nobody gets paid for their time there. But campus radio is also your foot in the door to get into your commercial radio stations like YFM, Metro FM, Kai FM, whatever station it is that you're eyeing. And for Tshepang, he was eyeing 5FM. And what happened is he was sending demos every single week for months. Just people even knew who he was when they would see him at radio networking events, because he was just always in people's faces, sending them demos every 2 weeks, reminding them that he's here and available for the job. And a year and a half later, he was able to get into 5FM. He got the call, station manager called him in, was a whole thing. And yeah, now he's a 5FM presenter. But what it does for most people is that most people, it takes them 3 to 4 years to get into commercial radio. So I think that's the average at Tax FM. After 4 years, someone then gets a call from YFM or someone gets a call from Metro and they're like, hey, we'd love to have you on, and they take them on. But with Tshepang, it was a year. However, on the flip side, you've got someone like Dimpo. And if you don't know Dimpo, she is also an Tax FM presenter who is now a presenter at YFM. So her show is on Saturday and Sunday at around 12 o'clock, I think, from 10 to 12 or 10 to 1, something like that. I don't know, girl. And she's also a presenter on a news show on Channel O called Super Culture. And with Dimpo in particular, her journey was 8 years long. So remember I told you it takes the average presenter at Tax FM 4 years to get into commercial. Dimpo, it took her 8 years to get into commercial. But now if you look at Dimpo and you listen to her show and you watch her on television, you can tell that this is someone who is seasoned. You can tell that this is someone who had a lot of time in the shadow to make the mistakes, to perfect her craft, so that by the time she was in the limelight, absolutely nobody can take away from her the fact that she is undeniably talented at what she does. And I think for me, that really affirms my journey, because that's something I tell myself all the time, that for the years that I'm spending in the quote unquote shadows, I still have a lot of lessons to learn. And I think what you often see with overnight successes and, celebrities is that they get judged and sometimes even cancelled for mistakes that they made unknowingly or unintentionally. And sometimes it's a mistake that even you and I can make. And we've seen it with Disney Channel stars who then grow up and go through this rebellious teenager stage and then rebellious young adult stage, and they get judged for it and they get criticized for it and even blackballed and cancelled for it. But what we don't realize is that the difference between us and them is that we have the privilege of making those mistakes in the dark. And I think whatever progress you're looking to make, if you're not where you're at right now, know that that is protection, and know that that is God covering you to make a few more mistakes and a few things that you need to learn happen right now before you get put on the stage, because the criticism and the prosecution that you're going to face for making mistakes on a global stage is insane, unfathomable, and might just be something that completely shuts you down. So take it one day at a time, and if your day hasn't come yet, know that there's still lessons to learn. But as soon as those lessons are learned, you're going to be on the stage and nobody's going to be able to take away from you the fact that you put in the work, and it's evident to see in how effortless you portray your skill.